Hey, what's going on, guys? Lee Sanders here. You're checking out a special Sunday night edition of the RCWR Show. I think that's what we're gonna go on ahead and we're gonna dub it. I wasn't really sure if we were gonna do maybe a special edition of 30 with Lee, since we cover all things movies, TV, and all that, or if I was just gonna come at you guys with the RCWR Show. But I just thought, for the sake of the argument, I come at you guys with a special edition of the RCWR Show, covering all things entertainment and beyond since 2011. And we are here live right now on this Sunday night of November the 4th, 2018, for very good reason. You're seeing the title of this episode. You know what we are getting ready to cover, which was Rick Grimes' final episode of The Walking Dead. We had heard the buzz about this all summer long, and you're like, oh my God, what the hell is going to happen? And I can't tell you how much pandemonium was in the air with regards to Rick Grimes' final episode. So many people that, and I'm sure you've probably experienced it in your inner circles as well. You had those that, well, you know what? I kind of fell out of love with Walking Dead a couple of years back. Wow, that show is still on. Get out of here. Oh, well, you know what? I stopped watching after they killed off the Glenn character. I just felt the show was going to the shits after that. So, yeah, but like as soon as everybody had heard that Rick Grimes was going to be making his exit from The Walking Dead, the curiosity, everybody that used to watch long ago or skipped out on some seasons decided, hey, you know what? I need to come on back. I need to see what's going to be going down here. And I got to tell you, man, this season alone, I thought last season was some of, actually, let me rewind it back a little bit further. I honestly feel that ever since Jeffrey Dean Morgan came on to the Walking Dead cast, I mean, the writing, it has really just gone up an extra level. It is like he has breathed new life into not just the cast but the writing team, because everything, it just feels like it's been this domino effect in a positive way with him coming on board. And so, I say that to say that when it's all said and done, since Jeffrey Dean Morgan has come on board the series, we have gotten some of the best storytelling in The Walking Dead. And when you see what had went down last season, you're going, my God, how are they going to top this off? And here we are, 5 episodes in now, right? And forgive me, I'm under the impression, and I didn't find this out literally until about 4 hours before the new Walking Dead had came on tonight, that this was not going to be a mid-season finale or anything like that. We already knew it wasn't going to be a season finale because they just came back a couple of weeks ago. Duh. But you would think that maybe with the holidays coming up, usually this is about that time when a lot of your hit favorite TV shows go on ahead and they take a little bit of a break because of the holidays, and they usually will come on back mid-January, late January, just in time to basically pump on and hammer through the February sweeps. So to go to episode 5 of tonight's episode, which was titled What Comes After. That was the name of this episode. You're like, wow. And then to know that next week we're getting a new episode of The Walking Dead, you're like, oh my God, oh my God. I've got to tell you, this is a series that I have been watching since the very first episode. When I first heard about it, I remember reading the graphic novels. I remember reading the comics and all that. And as soon as I heard that AMC was in development for this series, I'm going, well, my God, you can't ruin this. There's no way you can mess this up, right? Not with such a great graphic novel series at your disposal. Get some of the best Hollywood executives on this, man, you can have yourself a winning hand for many years to come. That's how I felt. Never did I imagine 9 years later, here we are now. I thought for sure maybe after about 5 years, but no, 9 years later. And Andrew Lincoln, he was the man. He was the man. I don't know how it was for a lot of you guys, but for me, Rick Grimes, that character, I love everything. And I think a lot of that has to do with the way Andrew Lincoln just portrays that guy. But I mean, if ever you were to have a best friend, anybody in the world that you could have come with you and just walk with you through heaven and hell, and like, is going to have your back like that, a guy like Rick Grimes is someone that you definitely would love to have. But for me, for other selfish reasons, I just love making fun of Rick Grimes' voice because from time to time he'll just be like, "We need to do everything we can to make sure this food goes to Alexandria. People are depending on it." I just love how he talks and everything. But I gotta tell you, this episode that we had got tonight, it was a tear jerker episode. Okay, so let's set this up. I'm getting ready to go into some spoilers. I'm getting ready to just so if you guys have not seen this episode yet, now's your time. Hit the pause button, watch the episode, come on back, and then we'll dive all into it, right? But if you hear this far, you're with me at this point, then you don't mind me going through the spoilers. Let's have at it. Let's try to make sense out of all of this stuff that had came about. And we actually have some breaking news with regards to future episodes of The Walking Dead that was revealed during tonight's episode of Talking Dead with Chris Hardwick. So you definitely want to make sure you stick around for that because there's a couple of different angles I'm going to be dissecting this. And if you are on the side of the marketing team, I don't really think this is a good execution, but we'll dive a little bit more into that in just a hot second. All right. So we saw what came about with last week's episode, right? Towards the end, we see that Rick Grimes, he is on this white horse. And I thought it was kind of funny looking at that white horse because I'm looking at the horse and I'm going just instantly off and on. Even throughout this episode of Rick Grimes' final episode, I'm going, death rides on a pale horse. I just every single time I saw that white horse, I'm just going, that horse is, it might be white, and you might want to look at that as a symbolism of hope, of light, and everything like that. But no, I see that horse is pure freaking evil, right? And sure enough, my point, when the horse needed to do its job the most, we see that damn horse get all no, and it just shakes off Rick, and Rick just plow, just big old metal rod just goes right through his goddamn abdominal region. Just oh yeah, that's just lovely. And the last burning image we see of poor Rick, he's just on this damn thing, tries to pull himself up, and he just passes out. And we're like, wow. And then add on top of that, zombies to the left of me, zombies to the right of me, zombies to the north, zombies to the whatever, north, south, east, west. And you're going, well, surely this guy's fucked, right? So we see what happens with this episode, and Rick, he's dreaming, and he dreams of himself back, and this was like a series throughout this whole episode. He's having these fever dreams, right? It's a combination of a fever dream, but you also got to remember he's lost so much blood. Remember, as soon as he hit that metal rod, I mean, blood is just all right. So he is literally bleeding out, right? So he is having these dreams, having these hallucinations, and one of the first dreams that he has is of himself back in the hospital. And everybody that remembers episode 1 of The Walking Dead, you remember exactly how that all had panned out. So for it all to just come back full circle 9 years later in setting up this episode, I just thought that was brilliant freaking writing by the team. So kudos to the writing for the way they were just able to really go into that. And each time Rick finds himself throughout this episode bleeding out, passing out, having these little dreams, no matter what, there's that part of him, even his subconscious, I guess you can say, that is saying, wake up. Your job is not done yet. You have to wake the hell up. And that's what he's doing. And so, we see him, he wakes up, the beginning of this episode, finally, after having the short dream of himself in the hospital. He sees himself in the bed, right? Very first image we see is Rick in the bed from episode 1. And he knows he's dreaming because he's looking at his hand and it's all bloody. And he's saying, my God, wake up, wake up. And then he sees himself in the hospital bed from many years ago. And even that Rick Grimes, that version, wakes up and says, yeah, asshole, wake up. And so he finally wakes up. And the zombies, they're getting closer. What is Rick to do? He's trying to pull himself up once again, but that damn metal rod is just, it's a bitch, right? Yeah. So What's a guy to do? Well, you go with the innovation route. And the innovation route is basically take off your belt, put that bad boy up over what just happens to be some bonus metal rods over his head. I mean, really deep, welded into some concrete bricks and all that structure, right? So he puts the belt around that and is able to pull himself, almost kind of like he's doing a unique style of a push up, if you will, or chin up, pull up bar, basically. And he's able to get himself off of that metal rod that way. And a rebar. Thank you, Richard, in the chat. Rebar, basically. But you guys know what I was talking about. So he finally gets himself off of this, and okay, what are you gonna do now, Rick? I don't know. Are you gonna go back to that white horse again? If there was ever a damn horse I wanted to see turned into glue, it was this horse. I am not the only one that felt this way. So many people on social media past 2 weeks. That damn horse. Oh my god, that damn horse. Don't trust that horse. I'm looking at this horse again and I'm going, God, Rick, please don't trust that horse again. Can you like go on a different? Now you're bleeding out, right? You gonna? All right, let's go with the horse again. But I got one eye open on this horse. I'm going. I don't trust that horse. That horse might be white. That horse might be looked at as a beacon of hope, a beacon of truth, a beacon of prosper. But that horse is evil in my book. So he gets on this horse once again. He's continuing to bleed out, and at this point, he's trying to figure out, okay, how can I get all of these zombies away from those that I care about? Because there's so many of them. What can I do? Well, I obviously got to take them to some point. So what am I going to do? So his game plan is, okay, well, I'll just go ahead and I'll maybe try to take him across the bridge or something like that. Maybe I can do something like that. So like that's the game plan that Rick is kind of having, but he's having these intense blackout moments because he keeps bleeding out, right? So we heard rumblings that there was going to be a Who's Who cast that was going to be popping up in this last episode for Rick Grimes. And again, if you're with us this far, you don't mind the spoilers, that's fine. But one of the hallucinations that Rick had experienced had came courtesy of John Bernthal, the guy that plays the Punisher, Marvel Netflix, the Punisher. We remember him on Walking Dead way before the Punisher had went down. Shane, I believe, was his name on The Walking Dead. It's been so many years since I've seen him. You got to forgive me if I mess up any of these names, but I am looking in the chat, so I will, I will pop my head in the chat and make sure that if I'm messing up on anything, I'll see what you guys are saying. But it was great seeing John again. And honestly, I love the fact that he's been able, out of all of the cast members of The Walking Dead, he has so far had the most success post Walking Dead. I think anybody would be in agreement of that. I think second place would go to Sasha Williams because she's now at the helm of being the first black captain, if you will, for that new Star Trek series that they got on CBS All Access. If you guys don't know anything about that, well, now you know. Of course, you wouldn't know because it's basically like a CBS app thing, right? But she's doing very well for herself. You know what? And Norman Reedus, we can give him a bone as well because he's been able to do some really good stuff. Part of still the AMC family. He has that show. What is it? Riding with Norman Reedus or something like that, where he's just touring different cities. He's on his bike and he's traveling and he's talking with fellow celebrities and everything. It's a good show. I've checked it out from time to time. It's pretty good. But it was great seeing John as Shane back on there, and the two of them, they're basically in the police squad car, and they're eating French fries, burgers, and John is telling him, "You know what this is all about, right?" And Rick's like, "No, why don't you tell him?" He's like, "I'm going to tell you what this is all about." And he's like, what you're feeling inside, this fight that you've been doing this far, you've done good. I'm really proud of you. I'm proud of everything that you've done up to this point. But man, some of this stuff that's you got going on in your heart, you need to let that go. And Rick is basically telling him, I can't. And it's like Rick just has this head full of emotions. Part of it is regret because he doesn't like how he did Shane. And in this hallucination, Shane is basically telling him, man, you need to forget about that. You need to get past that crap or shit. You need to get past that shit. They talk about Shane's daughter because Shane goes, hey, how's my daughter doing? And then Rick's like, oh, she's doing pretty good. She has your eyes. And Shane's like, well, thank God she doesn't have my ears, right? And they start having a hearty chuckle and everything. But Shane's message to Rick was basically, look, man, how you be just relentless, how you just be letting off when the zombies and everything, that fire that you have deep down inside your heart, you need to really tap into that and you need to give into that beast right now. But most importantly, you need to wake up. And so once again, Rick, and that's what keeps happening. Every time he has these blackouts and he's having these hallucinations, there's like an important message that's being told, which is basically keep trucking on, wake up. The job isn't done just yet, right? So as all of this is going on, we basically go on over, want to say Alexandria, where we see Maggie. She's pretty much reached the camp. Remember, she's gun ho. She's trying to kill Negan. So she comes across Michonne, and Michonne, she gets the heads up that Maggie's coming, and she kind of has an idea what it maybe is about, but isn't really sure. So there's their verbal confrontation, and Maggie basically says, hey, I don't understand how you guys can just continue to let Negan live after what he did to all of us, after what he did to Glenn. You're trying to tell me that, Michonne, seriously, if Negan had did that to Rick, yeah, Matthew, don't spoil it. Don't spoil it, Matthew. Got to delete that, Matthew. Sorry, buddy. We know. We're gonna cover it on the show. don't worry. I'm up to date. We had somebody in the chat just now that was, hey, this person had said, no. We got it covered. We got it covered. Thank you. All right. So anyway, no, but we have Maggie saying to Michonne, hey, what the hell? If Negan had did that to Rick, you're trying to tell me you wouldn't want him dead? You're trying to tell me seriously you would allow Negan to continue to breathe? What the hell? And Michonne's like, I mean, that's a good point, but if you go do this, you sure you can really live with it? And Maggie's basically like, I gotta try to somehow. So reluctantly, Michonne finally gives her the pair of keys. She goes on in there, and I gotta tell you, the interaction just from that TV viewing point, and just the way that it was written, the back and forth between Maggie and Negan. Oh my God, that was just, I ate that up. That was some of the most intense 8 minutes of dialogue I have seen on a drama of this magnitude to date. I mean, great chemistry between these two. And I say that because, and you know what, a lot of credit needs to go to Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I mean, such a great actor. And I hear where he's coming from, because there was a recent interview that he had gave where he said, I really want for the writers to dig really deep with regards to his Negan character. Like he wants even more layers to be unpeeled so that people can understand how Negan got to the point that he got to, right? Post-apocalyptic, try saying that 3 times fast. Post-zombies, damn it. But no, but he brings up a good point, because his whole thing is, I don't want to be typecast. That's the last thing I want. I'm having such a great time working on this series, but the last thing I want is to be in a position where I get typecast. And I hear where he's coming from, but I think honestly, and you guys can tell, he's having so much fun on that series. I think out of 100%, as far as being typecast, I think that's probably barely at 30%, I would think. But every time we've seen Negan this season talk to different people, think about it so far, play it back in your minds, right? We've seen him talk to Rick. And when he's talking to Rick, it's almost kind of like Charles Xavier talking to Magneto. It's almost like Martin Luther King Jr. talking to Malcolm X, right? So Negan is kind of putting up this good front of a game and everything, basically telling Rick, hey, do all that stuff that you're doing out there in the world, deny me the opportunity to see it, take part in it. As far as I'm concerned, you're just getting that son of a bitch real nice and prettied up for me. You're getting that world ready for me to take over once again. So go ahead, keep on at it. I'm going to have my fun in the sun, sure enough, right? So he's talking that side out of his mouth to Rick. But then we see him go the psychological route with Michonne when he thinks that maybe he might be able to take advantage of her because one, she's a female, but then two, he knows that she has experienced some type of loss in her life and maybe they can kind of connect that way and maybe he can kind of win her over on his side, right? But that backfires as we see. But then when he's talking to Maggie, we first see this facade from Negan that's basically, wow, it took you a year and a half to finally come up here and work up the nerve to kill me? Like, seriously, it took you this long? Well, I've been waiting for you. What the hell? And Maggie just venom in her eyes, right? I mean, cold as ice. She wants this dude to step into the light. She wants to kill this man. She's opening up this silk cage door and everything. And he's saying all the right things. He even talking about the gory details about how he had fun killing Glenn. But something just for Maggie, something just isn't quite registering. And like each time she asks him to step into the light, Negan begins to crack until it gets to a situation where Maggie finally she opens the cell door, pulls him out, and we finally see Negan for like the very first time. I mean, we've seen him off and on during this series, during this season rather, but this was our first real okay, here's Negan in the light, because he's been in the shadows every time we see him. So now we're able to really get a good look at him, and he looks very weak. He looks very scrawny. He looks half the man that he used to be. And we have Maggie now, she's taking the lead even more. She's saying, why? Why do you want me to kill you? What is your obsession with me killing you? Tell me. Why do you want me to kill you so bad? And we finally see Negan crack. I mean, Negan has always come off to me, even though sometimes he may speak in riddles, he always tells it like it is. Like Negan is one of those guys that does not lie to you. He's going to tell you what he's going to do, and he sticks to that damn thing, right? We get his mentality. People are basically a resource, right? They justify the ends to a meaning at the end of the day, right? That's how Negan's whole philosophy is. But here we have a Negan that, no games, no more facade. This is Negan totally raw, totally uncensored, totally fucking okay. I've got no more hands, no more cards I can play in my hands. This is pretty much me at my most sincerest. And Negan is basically telling Maggie, because I want to be reunited with my wife, with my family. I want to be reunited with them before all of this had happened. So basically, Negan is looking for that sweet release from that world. And Maggie now finally realizes, holy crap, whatever this guy was before, Rick pretty much killed that guy. This ain't even Negan. I don't know what the hell this is, but this guy's already dead. So she puts him back in the cell cage, and he's crying and he's pleading with her to finish him. I mean, this was I've never seen Negan like this. Never, never, never have I seen Negan like this. So I thought they captured this very well. I remember a little bit of something in the comic books and the interactions and everything. And I see what some of the people are saying in the chat. And I tell you, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, boom, home run, did that phenomenally well. So we see Maggie. She comes on back up to Michonne outside, hands her the keys. That's pretty much it. But then they get a distress call in the walkie-talkie talking about there's some type of a disturbance, there's some type of an issue. All hands need to be on deck. Shoot on back to Rick Grimes. Rick, at this point, he's continuing to bleed out on this damn horse. Another hallucination that he had, I find it so fitting too, and I think you guys know exactly the person I'm getting ready to bring up. Of course, I'm talking about Scott Wilson, who was a fan favorite of The Walking Dead, definitely one of my favorite characters of the series. You know, he had passed away October 6th of this year, so just a couple of weeks ago. So it's kind of fitting that we were able to see the late Scott Wilson one more time, and I actually had got teary eyed. I legitimately got teary eyed seeing him once again because knowing that he passed a couple of weeks ago, and then to see him again, it was kind of like, oh, damn. But that was a nice hallucination as basically, Rick comes across him and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry that I kind of let you down. I'm sorry that I didn't do more for Maggie, and I'm sorry I didn't do more for Carl." And he's like, "Hey, look at this right here. Look at this beautiful scenery right here." And he's Rick is seeing all of these beautiful things, like the flip side to, hey, I know things are looking kind of bad right now, but look at this. Look at it from this standpoint. Look at, and it seemed like each time he was having these hallucinations, every single individual was telling him two things, which is basically, hey man, you don't have to keep doing this any longer. You've put up one hell of a good fight, but hey, there's more to it than just continuing the fight on, right? It's all about family at the end of the day. You got to wake up. Whole lot of mixed messages in here. So, Rick, some point he finds a shack. He doesn't get to last there that long. He had to hop on the horse once again, ride that bad boy. I think the one last hallucination he had, if I'm not mistaken, it was like actually second before the last. There was a hallucination he had where I'm trying to think. He ran into Sasha Williams' character because he was back in the hospital once again, where it all pretty much began in episode 1. And there was this door that said, "Don't open, zombies," on the other side. And for some weird reason, Rick just goes, I'm just going to open it. And there's this big old bright light that just shines right through. Rick opens that door, goes inside, or goes outside rather. And, he sees all of these dead bodies everywhere. They're not zombies. They're all, it was like they all were freshly killed. So you see Michonne is in there. You see Maggie. You see Daryl, everyone that he's ever come across. All those that he has come to care about. Everybody is just there. It's just corpse upon corpses upon corpses. And we see Sasha Williams. She's there, standing tall and everything. And he looks very happy to see her. And she probably has the most powerful message of them all, which is, hey, don't you get it by now? There's so much more than just you. It's not about you or me. It's about passing on that will, that will to live, the passing down of inspiration. What you're doing right now, don't think for 1 second it's going to go unnoticed. Everybody will continue to thrive from it. That's what happened with me. That's eventually what's going to happen with you. That's the cycle. That's how it keeps going. And she tells Rick, look, you've always found your family. I get that you've been on this journey for so long looking for your family, but your family has been here the entire time. And so finally, it's in that hallucination that Rick Grimes has the epiphany, if you will, of, okay, I get that, right? And we see Sasha say to Rick, okay, now that it's one last thing you got to do. You got to wake up. So now we see Rick, he's at this bridge. He's on the white horse. That white horse, if I'm not mistaken, it did give out on him again. Somehow Rick ends up falling off of the horse and the horse just hauls ass. I need to see that horse turned into glue. Seriously, that horse, that's one evil ass horse, man. Mr. Ed would not have even done that to my man Rick. I'm telling you, I'm not the only one that felt that way about that horse either. So, Rick at this point, his last end game, I got to do something with these zombies. I somehow got to get these guys over this bridge. I got to take these guys out. So it dawns on him, well, hey, there's a bunch of dynamite over here in the middle of this bridge. If I can just lure the zombies just close enough, I can blow up the damn bridge. So at this point, he does have one last hallucination because he keeps bleeding out again. Basically, he dreamed that Michonne, Daryl, Maggie, everybody, Ezekiel, everybody had came to his rescue, and he just felt like he was dreaming. And Michonne kisses him and says, "No, this is real. You know, one of the things that I loved about you the most is that you're a fighter. You keep on fighting. And right now, I need you to continue to do that. Another thing I need you to do, I need you to wake up." And so Rick wakes up once again, and he pretty much goes out guns blazing. But you know what? He was awake long enough to see Daryl, Maggie, everybody. They did come, and they saw what he was doing, and they figured, holy crap, he's gonna try to take himself out with the zombies. Like, what the hell? And so he sees them, he makes eye contact with them, he actually waves them off and says, no, 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 no. And they realize, holy crap, there's dynamite and all kinds of explosives there. No, 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 no. Michonne hauls ass because she knows exactly what he's trying to do. Daryl is probably the only one out of the bunch. While everybody else is trying to save Rick, Daryl has to be the only one that knows, all right, I don't like this, but I know what Rick is trying to do, and this is the right thing. So we see Daryl actually bow and arrow. He's going Hawkeye, helping out Rick, giving him that necessary time he needs to gather up his pace and all that, and find that last little bit of stamina. And long story short, guys, Rick was successful, one shot, and I got to tell you, right down to the very end, there was a couple of zombies that Rick had took out. I mean, even though he was bleeding out big time, he took out some zombies just one bullet at a time. I think he took out with the gun. I think he took out maybe 4 zombies just straight to the head. I'm like, ooh, that's good. But no, he took himself out in the bridge. Everything just went kaplooey. And you're just going, holy crap. Now, at this point, I don't know about you guys, but at this point, I'm going, hey, I need to see the body. If there's no body, then yeah, I'm sorry, he's still alive, right? So we get a commercial break. We come on back and we see our good old buddy. We saw her earlier during the episode. Um, I don't know her name just yet. You guys got to bear with me a second here. Let me actually pull up her name. So I was taking down my notes here for this episode. Bear with me a second here, guys. I see if I describe her, that doesn't. There we go. Jadis. Yeah. Jadis, portrayed by the lovely Pollyanna McIntosh. We saw her earlier in the episode, and she's trying to negotiate a rendezvous with that helicopter. And the helicopter, whoever it is that's either on the helicopter or maybe they're at their respective base, they basically are saying to Jadis, hey, are you sure that this pickup is legit? Because if you try to double cross us, the penalty for it. And Jada says, hey, I will be at coordinates, blah, blah, blah. I will have what you need. I have an A. We're good to go. I'll see you there. So when we come back from the commercial break, we see Jadis. The helicopter is coming. She's waiting for her pickup and everything. And she actually sees a corpse, and she's like, the hell is that? And it's kind of moving around a bit, kind of not zombie like. It's Rick Grimes. Rick Grimes survived the explosion. So the helicopter is coming closer, and Jada says to the helicopter via walkie-talkie, hey, I don't have an A, I have a B. And the guys on the helicopter, they're like, the consequences. And she says, look, I know. She's like, but I'm not tricking you guys, not anymore. And she shows the helicopter a gun. She drops that to the ground and she says, look, what I have for you, it might be a B, but it is a strong B. He is a great leader. He's a great person. He helped me, and right now I'm trying to help him because he was a friend to me, and I want to be a friend to him right now. Please, will you help him? So the last thing we see, it's basically like Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger at the end of the movie. We basically see Rick, he's got the blurry vision going on. So we see what he's seeing in first person view, first person perspective. And the vision is a little bit blurry, but Jadis is right there to greet him. And she says, "Hey, don't worry about it. You're going to be okay. I promise you're going to be just fine. Just rest." And that's it. That's the last that we see of Rick Grimes. So Rick Grimes is alive. But other than that, very last thing that we see, looks like we actually fast forward a few years. I don't know if we fast forwarded maybe, God, it seemed like maybe we fast forwarded 3 years, give or take. Last thing we see is some civilians running around. They're trying to hold off being eaten by some zombies, and they get some help from out of nowhere. I can't remember if it was gunshots to the zombies or some bow and arrows that took them out. Can't remember which combination it was, but there was a path that was cleared for them so they could get out of being eaten. And then they come across this little girl, and the little girl greets them, and they're like, "Hey, thanks for doing that. That was really nice of you. What's your name?" And she basically reveals herself. Of course, you all know that little girl that I'm talking about, but in case you don't know who the little girl is, sadly, I don't know the name of the little girl unless somebody can help me in the chat. But no, that's the illegitimate daughter of Rick Grimes, and Shane. Shane, and when Rick's wife had got together and they conceived that daughter that Rick has been taking care of all these years. That's what happens when the kid doesn't talk. Carl was talking for, it was easy for me to remember Carl's name, but the little girl, she ain't talking yet. She says a few words here and there, but, it's like, I sadly don't know the little girl's name. That sucks. Hopefully I'll remember it in the future weeks of episodes coming up. So that's pretty much how this episode had ended. Now, let's go to Talking Dead, because we talked about this at the top. And if you remember, I said that from a marketing standpoint, this was just, what the fuck, okay? So you see Andrew Lincoln's exit from The Walking Dead, yet the Rick Grimes character is still alive. You're going, "Oh, well, this doesn't make sense. So what? Rick's going to come back to The Walking Dead one day? What the hell?" So I actually had watched the first half hour of The Walking Dead, and we had got some breaking news within like the first 10 minutes of this episode. And Mr. Scott Gimple, who is the producer, writer for The Walking Dead, he had revealed a bombshell of big news. And basically, he had said that in the near future, there is going to be AMC original films that are going to be expanding upon the Walking Dead universe. You're going to be seeing different corners of the world, different situations. It's going to be produced in the scope of feature films. It's all about meeting digital content, things of that nature. There's going to be characters dead and gone that you'll see come back. There will be future characters that you'll be introduced to. The story arcs could take place all around the world, past, present, even future. Something that could be long term. Maybe it could, be an ongoing thing, or maybe it could somehow leak into the other Walking Dead shows, such as Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead. Or it could be a situation where, each story that's told will speak to each other, but it'll be something totally, entirely different in its own. Now, here's the big bombshell. It is the end of Rick Grimes on The Walking Dead, but it's not the end of his story. Let me repeat that again. According to Scott Gimple, executive producer of The Walking Dead, Rick Grimes on The Walking Dead is over. However, his story is not over. So his story is going to be part of that universe coming very soon with AMC original films and all that. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I hear that, I mean, on the one hand, I'm going, oh my God, Andrew Lincoln gave us such a great, iconic character in Rick Grimes and really had took this series. I mean, all the other zombie series that you see coming about right now, in some shape or form, they all are borrowing from The Walking Dead. Now, truth be told, everybody's borrowing from George Romero, but all of the series that you have seen that have come after Walking Dead have been taking their cues from The Walking Dead. So there's a part of me that's ecstatic that we're going to be seeing Rick Grimes continue on as this iconic character. However, was it really a smart move, I feel, from a marketing standpoint, to just put all your eggs in a fucking basket, in one episode where the fans are like, what the hell's going on with Rick, right? And you could have just let that be as it is and let people just marinate on the future episodes of The Walking Dead that is to come. Because again, there ain't no mid-season finale. We got to keep on trucking now with next week's episode on. They got a couple of more episodes until they take their holiday break. So I just can't help but question the producers if it was really a smart move by them revealing this crucial information. I personally felt, because my whole deal is, why not reveal this type of information after the season is over and done with? Are you that scared that maybe the ratings might tank now that Andrew Lincoln has made his exit from the series? And, as a result of that, what? You want to try to, before anything like that happens, you want to try to get as much information out there as possible for why maybe folks should continue to check out The Walking Dead, because maybe in some form or fashion, a key piece of, I don't know, a story arc could happen on this show that may bleed into Rick's Walking Dead original movie. You know what I'm saying, guys? It just, I don't know. I really just feel that they should not have revealed that. I think they overplayed their hand way too soon. You had people that were shedding a lot of tears tonight going, what the hell? And then to finally see, oh my God, hey, he's actually alive. I think you should have just ended it just like that and let people continue to talk all throughout these months, going into the summer, and then just quietly, whenever your next Comic Con is, you could have easily done some little sneak peak trailers, show Andrew Lincoln that way, keep it all tight-lipped. I think it's a situation where, if you guys remember, ever since the Glenn Reed character had got killed, that first go round, people were like, no, no, he can't be dead. No, 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 no. And people wanted instant gratification. And the producers caved. They basically had said, oh, well, I'm sure you'll see Glenn again. You'll probably see him in flashbacks, things of that nature, blah, 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 blah. I mean, they blatantly just damn near came right out and said, he ain't dead, right? So I just, that rubs me the wrong way when it's all said and done. To the point, it's almost like, hey guys, no need to watch this episode of The Walking Dead because, yeah, it's Rick Grimes' last episode, but they didn't kill him off. So wait, if it's his last episode and they didn't kill him off, like, I don't understand. It just felt, when it's all said and done, they were trying to tug for the heartstrings, but at the same time, it was ultimately just a marketing ploy. And it feels cheap. It feels rather sleazy the way that they had went about this. So we're gonna see what happens in the coming weeks. What I'm gonna be paying attention to most closely is what's gonna be happening with the ratings for tonight's episode. Compare that to the rest of the episodes going forward. I mean, you still got Jeffrey Dean Morgan in place, so hopefully it could be a situation where kind of like in the X-Men comics, there was that point where Magneto had became reformed and he saw the error of his ways. And if anything, he wanted to, you know, be an X-Men leader and everything. He wanted to be a team player on the X-Men. Hopefully it could be a situation where maybe we get a rehabilitated Negan that is trying to, actually help out. I mean, we'll have to wait and see, right? But I would suspect that with regards to the rating for tonight, it should do rather good. I mean, I'm looking at the ratings numbers so far, and I mean, just to recap, season one, where are we here? Season one did 6.8 total for viewers. That's 6.8 million viewers. Episode two, The Bridge, it did 4.95 million. That's not bad. Warning Signs, third episode, it did 5.4 million. Not bad. The Obliged, that did 5.10 million. That's not bad at all. If I were to guess, I would say with tonight's episode, let me see something real quick. I'll tell you real quick. Let me look at the last season of The Walking Dead here. Let me look at the 2017. Okay, so the 2017-18 season. Wow, Mercy was their strongest one. That had 11.44. And then you had a couple of weeks, consecutive weeks, where it stayed in the 8 million. I see a lot of sevens. I see a lot of sixes. So you can kind of almost average that out to maybe about 7.5 million viewers on average. So I would say with tonight's episode, what comes after, I'm going to say this episode should do, given the trend, I'm gonna say 8.75 million to maybe 9 million, because you also got to think about NFL. Damn good Sunday night closer game that was competing with The Walking Dead. You basically had the New England Patriots taking on the Green Bay Packers. So I would think that that's going to eat a little bit up of the initial first run. But I think even after you factor in the encore presentation, DVR on demand episodes, I think even when you factor all that in, it should get at least a 8.75 to about, I would say, 9.25. And I'll stay a little bit firm on that. That's final. But that is going to do it. Solid episode of The Walking Dead. Still continuing to be very strong writing. Even though Andrew Lincoln is no longer going to be a part of this Walking Dead universe, um, I'm kind of speechless right now. I can't wait to see what's going to happen next. And I like the fact that we really will not have enough time to mourn the loss of Rick, because it's basically up next week, everything. And I like the title for next week's episode, by the way. I don't know if you guys had caught that yet. I actually can't wait to see a trailer for that one. But next week's episode is titled, I believe, what is it? Is it What Comes After? Let me look at it here. Let me look at it real quick here before we sign off. Who You Are Now. Forgive me there. Yeah, so this week it was What Comes After. Next week, which is going to be on November 11th, it's going to be Who Are You Now? So that should be a pretty solid episode. And for you guys that's wondering about the dates for the other upcoming episodes, right now I'm just seeing the next three. So I would imagine after these next three, they're going to go on a holiday break. So you got November 11th, November 18th, and November 25th. I'll give those dates to you one more time. Next Sunday, which will be November the 11th, and then you have November the 18th, and then November the 25th. So that's going to do it. I'd say, hey, Andrew Lincoln, thanks for the memories, but I mean, shit, we're going to be seeing you in a couple of months. So, I mean, enjoy your vacation for now. I guess that's what I could say. What did you guys think of this episode of The Walking Dead? Sound off. Let me know. Post your comments down below, and get at me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Use the keywords The RCWR Show. And hey, man, if it's your first time checking me out, welcome. Hope you hit that subscribe button, click on the bell notification so you never miss out. We usually dip into some stuff, entertainment, wrestling, sports oriented related stuff and beyond. Been doing it since 2011. Appreciate you guys that checked out this special edition. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna shut it down now. Shout out to those of you that joined us initially live in the chat. Matthew didn't know. He didn't mean to put a spoiler out there, but it was nice that we covered it. Shout out to Richard, and then shout out to everybody else that's going to be checking this out. Can I just say this before we get ready to end the stream? When we were showing what's going to be happening over the course of the next 3 episodes of The Walking Dead, so we're keeping in mind that when Negan was slashed through the throat to when he was put in prison, basically a year and a half had passed. But now that Rick has, it's presumed Rick died. So now it's like 3 years later, right? So it's now basically been 4.5 years, almost 5 years, right? But if you want to get technical, it's now been 3 years since Rick died. What I thought was really badass as they were showing scenes from the upcoming episodes is at one point you had these people that were hiding from zombies and they were like covering themselves up in mud and all of that stuff. And I don't know if they've been showing this all along, but I swear it was new to me. And I actually had tweeted it out and people were like, yeah, they actually did say that. So now somehow the zombies have mutated, right? To the point they're talking now. And one of the scenes that they show where you had these people that were running around and they were trying to hide from the zombies. One of the zombies actually said, "Where are they?" And you're going, "Holy crap, what the hell?" Tell me I didn't just hear that. So my mind's just kind of like, whoa, what the hell have them zombies been eating? Because they seem to be talking now. What's up with that? So I'm telling you, I'm speechless at the way that things ended with the Rick Grimes character, but I'm eagerly anticipating what's going to be coming next. So it should be a very interesting journey. I don't think a lot of us should be crapping on this series just yet now that Andrew Lincoln is not going to be a part of this. Honestly, if I were a betting man, I think that if push comes to shove and the ratings are tanking really bad, trust me, Andrew Lincoln for the right amount of money, I think he will come back. Maybe not on a regular run like he's been doing over the years. Definitely maybe for a little mini arc, but I could definitely see him come back if the ratings suffer big time. And I think in order for the ratings to suffer really big time to warrant negotiations for him coming back, I think the ratings would have to dip. I told you guys how they were averaging about 7 point something million viewers for each episode, right? I think it would probably have to dip below 4 in order for them to try to reach out to him and see if maybe they can get him to come back. But that's just my wishful thinking on that one. Sound off though. Let me know what you had thought about this week's episode of The Walking Dead. Like I said, get at me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Use keywords the RCWR Show. And until I see and hear from you guys next go round, I'm wishing all of y'all to be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. I will see you guys next go round. Y'all do take care.